Kia ora. Today I'm doing a video on my favourite New Zealand albums. And now, these aren't necessarily the highest rated or highest grossing New Zealand albums, but they're my favourites, and I think that they're ones that you should definitely listen to or at least try out. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because the New Zealand industry as a whole is quite insular. Like, it's quite hard for our artists to actually be exposed or to break out just because, you know, we're tucked away on one little corner of the world. But yeah, I hope that you find a new pick for you today, and let's get on with it. Starting out first with one of my all-time favourites, which is Riverhead by Golden Horse. Now, this album makes you feel like that you're wrapped up in a warm blanket while listening to it. It's the best way I can describe it. Or at least it does for me, but that's probably just the nostalgia. Now, this album has like a lot of unique charms to it, a lot of quirks, but it's very accessible, and its charms really show through its great hooks and production. And despite the album's appearance of being like very folky, art pop type album that's very uplifting and vibrant, there are some like lyrics that kind of oppose what it's portraying and the instrumentals within it. And this comes through most prominently on their self-titled track, where Kristen sings about nothing flows like the blood of lovers, and then starts to talk about slitting her throat open like a lily flower. And that's all to some upbeat instrumentals. But that's kind of the charm of the album, because a large part of it is just like really good radio bangers. But the whole album's just wrapped up really nicely, and you're just immersed through each track as it smoothly transitions one after the other, and then it's over. And that's why it's one of my favourites. Second album, we got Good by Good Shirt.
She's just so sweet, so fine, so polite too, so
Now, I would say that this is like the quintessential early 2000s New Zealand pop rock sound. Now, this band is kind of like a mixture of like the Beatles meets the Beach Boys meets the White Stripes. And I have to say, they have one of the most like recognizable New Zealand songs, and that being Sophie. And if you listen to the radio in the early 2000s or been to a party recently, you've definitely heard this song. But what makes this sound theirs and like why it's so quintessentially New Zealand, it's kind of just the way in which the first album was recorded and how the band emerged in the first place. So for their first album, they actually played in like a garden shed that was just filled with mattresses, and then they fed audio cable through to their mate's room, and they used that as their like separated control room. I mean, that's pretty awesome. They didn't let their limitations get in their way. Like, they just did it in their home recording studio, which is kind of like not dissimilar to Chris Knox, who like pioneered reel-to-reel recordings at home. I'd also highly recommend their second studio album, which is Fiji Baby. It's arguably, I would say, as good as the first one, so definitely check that out too. Okay. Next, we got V by Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Now, I'm choosing this album because, like, objectively it's their best, but it also just holds a special place in my heart, as kind of with all the rest of their albums. Because yeah, separately, I have like a very distinct memory of when I first listened to the band, and that was at the back of class, like on a shitty Chromebook, and then I pulled up Swim and Sleep Like a Shark from their first album, and that was it. I'm just in love with this band. And like every day after class, I'll just like cruise home on my longboard listening to their early albums just on repeat. There's never a bad moment from them. And that continues through with like their later stuff. Like, one of their most popular tracks and one of my favorites is Honeybee on Sex and Food. And that just goes to show like they can't do wrong. Maybe they will, but like at the moment, pretty good stuff. And saying that, they've actually got like quite a few B-track albums that just have a lot of their like experimental, a little bit quirky, a little bit weird type music going on. I love it. Like, sure, some of the songs like aren't for me, but the fact that they're out there and, you know, just more content is good. Now, why is V my favorite album if I said these other ones are so good? Because it's just that good. Like, a lot of the moments that I experience, like listening to these other albums, I've kind of had it unfold listening to this one, and like they just keep getting better, like each album they put out, like, and this really just goes to show like them kind of mastering their style, their sound, their craft, and I highly recommend this album. Separately, but also like still on Unknown Mortal Orchestra, the two brothers from that band, they used to be a part of the band called the Mint Chicks. I mean, goddamn, that band, if you want some like upbeat tempo music to like just really just get you hyped to do something, that's the band to listen to. Like their first album, it's incredible. It's like a kind of punk rock alternative vibe, and it's just so good. Okay, next up, and kind of the main reason I made this video, is we got Beautiful Collision by Big Runga.
Just wanna know ya, just wanna talk to ya, I wanna hear about your day.
Now, anyone that knows me knows that Big Runga holds like a special place in my heart. And I was seriously considering choosing her other most popular album, which is called Drive. And the reason I went with Beautiful Collision was that it just holds a lot of my most favorite love songs of all time. So yeah, it just has to be the pick. And another reason why she has some of my favorite love songs is just her voice. It is by far one of the best I've ever heard, period. And her songwriting ability is so fantastic. This all comes to a fruition in her special compilation album that she did with the Christchurch Symphony Orchestra, where they just kind of got all of her best hits and put it together with a lovely orchestral track in the background. And a lot of the tracks on there were from Beautiful Collision, and for a good reason. Like, it's so good, and I think there needs to be more like vocal backed orchestra albums out there, because god damn, that was fantastic to listen to. Also, a little fun fact about Big Runga is that she's married to Kobe Nelson, who's shown here, and who is one of the 3 members of Unknown Mortal Orchestra, along with his brother Ruben Nelson, the frontman, and their American-born bassist, Jacob Portrait. Okay, so why do I bring this up? Well, back in 2012, Kobe and Big Runga actually formed a band together, and they called it Opossum. That was shortly just after the breakup of the Mint Chicks, where Kobe was the frontman for that. And they released this fantastic album called Electric Hawaii. And in my opinion, this album is by far one of the most slept on projects that's came out of New Zealand. Like, I'm just so surprised not many people have heard of this band. So that's why I want to share it with you guys as well as a little treat. Alright, next up we got I Told You I Was Freaky by Flight of the Conchords.
Did I mention that I'm one of those sort of freaky guys?
I don't think that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I'm freaky.
I'm gonna take the month of August off just to get you off. I'm freaky. I'm gonna clear the tabletop. We're gonna need a mop. I'm freaky.
Now, if you know Flight of the Conchords, you'll be wondering like, yeah, I mean, I kind of get it, but why is a novelty spoof TV band on this list and not my favorite artist? Read the sign. But on a serious note, Brett and Jermaine are just such an iconic duo with like the most catchy and fun songs that you'll ever hear. And, you know, they make their fans want to go out and buy their first complete season on DVD and leave it unopened because, you know, they're that good. And I feel like that their album, I Told You I Was Freaky, kind of just builds upon what they did in the first season. And as a New Zealander, or if you are anyone trying to come to New Zealand or planning to, I'd seriously highly recommend watching this show. It just kind of encapsulates the New Zealand humour and just elevates it to like, it's just incredible. And their songs are just so iconic and catchy that, you know, you'll be out hiking with your friends and then, you know, you got an hour or two to pass, you just start singing their songs. It's never a bad time. It's always fun listening to them. And yeah, they've done really something great for New Zealand, I would say. Okay, so this video is getting a bit long now, so I'm just going to speed run through these next few artists because I want to talk about them, but I've rambled quite a lot. So first one, we got Delta by Shapeshifter. Now this album has one of my favorite songs by them, Stadia, and they are one of the best touring like drum and bass and electronica bands out there at the moment, so definitely give it a listen. Next we got Kaleidoscope by The Chills. So you listen to The Chills for like a kind of atmospheric but also rock and pop and punk and folk album all kind of mixed together, and it's kind of very representative of the sound that was coming out of Dunedin back in the late 80s and early 90s. Next we got Automatic by Lady Six. Now this has some beautiful rap vocals that you can easily bop along to, so definitely give it a listen. And I can't have a New Zealand list without putting Based on a True Story by Fat Fetty's Drop on here. So you listen to Fat Fetty's Drop whenever you want to hear something like this that's got some incredible dub, jazz, soul and synthesizers, and just the whole album is just so fat and grand. It's always a great listen. And another one of my favorite singers with her self-titled album is Ladyhawke. So you listen to Ladyhawke when you want some just really great synth pop, and as quoted by her, I wanted to make music that could put a smile on people's faces and give them a feeling of nostalgia even though they're hearing my songs for the first time. That's quoted by her in 2008. And lastly, we have a special band request from my flatmate, who's a bit of a death metal head, so we have Cutting the Throat of God by Ulcerate. And so for them, I'll be reading verbatim what my flatmate has quoted, which is, "It's one of the most consistent and sonically adventurous death metal bands of the last 15 or so years. You could really pick any of their albums, but since they seem to get better with every project, the latest one is easily the best choice. If you like Gorguts, Cynic, or Imperial Triumphant, this should slot right into your rotation." But yeah, that's the end of the video, and I hope you found some new music that you can easily slot into your playlist, and yeah, keep an eye out for part 2 because I'm sure I'll think of a few other bands in the future, but yeah, have a great day and catch you later.